George here with the Wurlitzer Piano. So this is a piano that used to be a student model that I converted to a stage model. So a customer brought one in today and we're going to do the same thing for his. So let's take a look. It started out as a student piano and I did a conversion to make it like the stage model. Added the legs to it. Of course you have to take it off the stand. It's on a solid stand normally. And then I added the line out there. And then I added the power jack, AC power, there on that corner. Because when you take them off the stand, you just have a bunch of wires hanging loose because everything terminates in the stand on the student model. So a customer has brought in his, and he wants me to do the same thing to his. So you can see it's got the loose wires that whenever you take it off the stand, you end up with that. Some of that is power, some of that is audio. And then he bought a replacement amplifier from RetroLinear. So he wants the aux out, he wants the AC power. He also wants to convert the indicator light to LED. I didn't do that on mine. I actually like the look of the old neon. So since it still works, I thought neon is cool. But we're going to do LED with his and I get to see how it works. So we have it up on the stand. One of the things I forgot about these is it's got a volume, but then it doesn't have the tremolo. It says ensemble self speaker. And that was the student model. So you could, I guess on self, it would just play locally. And you had headphones. There was a headphone panel underneath. You could put it on speaker, and then ensemble, I guess, allowed you to play with other units or perhaps with the teacher's unit. So I have the screws out. We can lift off the top. And so there's a lot of stuff unplugged here. Okay, so that's the power coming in there. This guy has already kind of worked on it a little bit. And then here's a jack here. He's got a note in there. I got to see what that says. And then this looks like the original amplifier that we'll be taking out and putting in the RetroLinear. And I know the RetroLinear is going to have an output for aux out. And here is the preamp that goes up here. Now, my understanding is mine was a 200 series. It was a 206 converted to a 200, I think is how you would say that. He said this was a 206A, so it would be converted to a 200A, and the A is this. This is a preamp. It's a small preamp that actually mounts up here, and the A's had that. Mine does not have that. Mine, output goes directly to the board. All right, so let's see what parts he brought us. Okay, so we have this box here. So we have a pot, some kind of screws. He's got a note. I love it that he puts notes in here. And here is the LED indicator. And he even supplied the AC power. Wonderful. And then the aux line. Yep. So, wow. Thorough. Very thorough. And then in the other box, and this is from RetroLinear, I believe. Okay, so now we have the AC cord. Well, he's almost done all the work for me. This is probably going to be the power on-off, where I think that other pot is going to be the tone. And then we have I don't know what that is. It almost looks like a substitute for the preamp. Maybe it's going to do it like mine is, where it doesn't have a preamp. And here is the RetroLinear replacement board. Okay, so I'm going to do a little reading here and see just exactly how we proceed. So this was the original preamp board. they have you remove that, and then you install this new pickup board. Now, it's interesting that there's no electronics on this now. This is simply an RCA socket. This top screw, which is the pickup bar, goes to the center, and then the bottom, which is the reed bar, goes to the ground. And so now you're just left with an RCA cable to go to the new amp. Very nice, very clean. I didn't have the preamp board in mind because mine was a 200, not a 200A, or 206, not a 206A. I always thought the difference in the A version was this preamp board. And interesting, with this new amp, it's not necessary. I didn't have one, so I always felt a little insufficient that I don't have the A board. Looks like I don't need it. Okay, so the next step is you cut the transformer wires away from the amp board and the audio wires, and we remove the old amp board. So that's it there. And all gone. So that now we'll probably be putting in the new one. Okay, so the old amp was removed. This is the new one. It came from RetroLinear. Haven't hooked anything up yet. I also removed the two pots. One was volume, one was for the ensemble, speaker, so forth. These are the new pots, so this is going to be the volume on off here, and this is going to be the tremolo. Also, I noticed there's no speakers in this unit. Some of them have them mounted in the top part. There's none on this one, and I don't even see brackets. So I don't know if this ever had speakers in it, but it will not have speakers in it. It's just going to be line out only. Okay, let's hook those pots up. Okay, so we have the tremolo pot. They call it vibrato, but it's not. It's tremolo. It's a volume. Anyway, so we have that in. And what's really cool about this preamp, and mine was similar, is you have screw terminals to connect the wires. So there's no soldering here, and the wires are already stripped, so just put them in. And so now we'll do the volume. Okay, so I have the volume switch mounted. You have to solder these two wires on. These are the power because this acts as an on-off switch. So I soldered those. I'm also going to put these little heat shrink on there to protect that. Okay, so this customer also provided a new aux out jack with shielded wire. So I'm going to take that jack out and we'll mount this one in and run it over to the new amp board. So this is the LED kit that it came with. I had to lift the amp board up because we're going to solder it to the bottom, and they have instructions on exactly where to put them. Those three holes are vacant. So I'm going to solder those on, and then I have to mount the LED. So over here we have the original neon that's coming out, and then I have to drill a hole to mount the LED from behind, I suspect. So we'll look at that in a second. So when you remove the neon, there's a hole there, but it's not big enough for that LED to fit inside. So we're going to drill that out. So this sort of completes the electronic part of all of this. None of it's too difficult. The only soldering I had to do was the power wires on the back of the on-off switch. I did have to solder these two wires for the LED to that board. So I had to lift the board up, solder it, put it back down. There's a little bit of controversy in the instructions and the grounds. So this is the reed bar treble, reed bar bass, and in the original wiring, there's a ground wire that goes from the reed bar bass down to the back to the chassis. Same thing on the right. We have one on the right, treble. They're saying to take those off, but they're also saying that they supplied a wire that I don't have. And it's supposed to be, it sounds like a Y, like there's, I have this, they did supply this green short ground wire. So I'm connecting it to the same ground that the amplifier is connected to the treble. That's the closest screw. But then they said connect the other one over to the bass. There is no other one that didn't come with this. And then remove those ones on the end. So I'm not going to do that yet. I don't have AC power to it yet. That's the next step. And we'll try it and see how it works. And I may end up having to do that. I may have to add another wire from this terminal and run it over here to that. But it's a very clean installation. I like it. I also like the fact that the LED they supplied is orange. So you probably won't notice a difference. I didn't even think about that. For some reason, when it said LED, I expected it to be red. So yeah, I may do that too. Get me an orange LED. So the next step is to take this, and this is probably the hardest part of this job. I mean, the electrical stuff is easy for me, but we have to come back here, the bottom rear, and I have to actually cut a hole to mount this jack. Now I did that on mine. I don't know if there's enough light back here, but this is how I did mine. And the very top of that cabinet, I got too close to the edge of it and it cracked a little bit. I think I can, putty it up and paint it and you wouldn't notice it. I haven't done anything because it works fine. But there's just not much room. The bottom of this jack is hitting the bottom of the piano pretty much. So I'm going to try not to do that on this gentleman's piano because he is a customer. So I'm going to go take a break and we'll come back and start working on that part. So one of the difficulties with putting the IEC connector in a Wurlitzer is there is just very little room here for this. Now you would look at this and say, well, there's plenty of room like that. The problem is there's a floor in here that comes up pretty high. And this is a template. If I center this and draw that hole and cut it out, the bottom of it's going to hit the floor and it's not going to go in. And if you move this up, I mean, you literally have to get it up to this edge here to clear the floor. And now you're very, very close. I mean, it's hard to cut this out and not break that little thing there, which I did on mine. So what I'm actually thinking here is, why not go ahead and center this, drill this out, and then just use a chisel and dig some of that floor out. Okay, so we have the hole made. The way this worked is I used one of these to go between the holes that were drilled. I couldn't do that on the bottom because the bottom is actually going into the base. So I got a chisel and we just put it on the line, knocked it straight in, and had to do a little filing to get it just right. And go like that. Okay, so we have it mounted beautifully. And if we look inside, that's what it looks like. So we're gonna take and run that wire around to the front and around for power. Ran the AC wire from the socket down the side. Now they had it braided, and I had to unbraid it because it needs to fit between this side and that piece of wood, or the lid will smash it. And then we have it wire tied here. And then this was the existing AC in plug, so I just had to splice that into there, put some heat shrink on it, and then the ground just attached it to the chassis. And so let's turn it on and see what happens. A very bright orange light, I like that. And so we have volume and vibrato. Okay, a little bit of, I have a fan above me, it's making it sound like vibrato, but let's turn up the actual. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there we go. We have the beautiful new amplifier with the screw terminals and that new board that replaced the preamp that was up there in the middle.
And then we have the two new pots, volume and vibrato. They call it vibrato, it's actually tremolo. And then we also, this black wire here goes down to the aux out. And that's what I am currently connected to right now. Going to the sound system in here. So we got it. So that's the changeover from a 206A to a 200A using the RetroLinear kit. I'm going to put the top on it. These are still loose here because they're on slots. They move in and out. I need to make sure they line up with the holes on the lid. So I'll do that and then get it back to the customer. He's got some action work to do, by the way, so, you know, it's not perfect right now, but he's been working on that. I think he's going to continue to service that part of it.
Well, that was sure enjoyable. Glad y'all came by to check it out. Hope you got something from it. Check back with us and we'll be back again with something new. So long.